talk America's Ascension, because there is one team that's just blowing the doors off. M80 just looked like they couldn't lose. I hesitate to say that because you, of course, still have the whole of playoffs left to go, right? They just did really, really well in the group stage. But
it wasn't all dominant. Like, if you go through their games,
it's been really close.
It's been look at all these 2-1s, a lot of overtimes in there. Like their first game, double OT. I think in laters there's other OTs as well that they won or lost. Like, look at that Glorious game as well. Like everything close. So it hasn't been like they've destroyed everyone. They just.
But when you're 5-0, even if some of these go the other way, you're still top of the table.
Yes.
So you know they are the best team by a decent margin here.
I tried to tell him. I tried to warn him, but he would not listen. And for that, the Valorant gods punished Josh Sideshow Wilkinson again. And rightfully so. We're going to take a look here at M80 versus 2G. And you can see here that 2G are already 2-0 up. We're going to start with round number 3. And in this one, 2G are going to go for what I'll call a classic neon play, right? So this is their bonus round. They're going to go for the neon. Running into spawn, some pressure market, some pressure on B. This obviously causes a lot of stress on these defenders on this B site, especially when there's only 2 players here. But these two actually deal with it pretty well for M80.
That happened from here on out. We've even got the gate crash thrown back towards spawn by Koalanu to give him a somewhat faster rotate off the site. Not necessarily to another, though. It's mid being taken up here by 2G.
And I love it. Again, this is not something we saw last time these two teams played. 2G was just hitting the outsides of the map offensively. Now you've got a fast lane to separate over the middle, and this is going to cause a ton of issues. Good paranoia to counter, but this leaves B main wide open.
Okay, so as I said, these two guys here do a pretty good job on this B side of recognizing what's about to happen. You know, once the flash and the neon comes down here, they both do a good job of getting kind of backside and dealing with this first, right? Like, don't bother with anything else. Like, deal with this first, because then at least you have kind of an escape. You have a safe haven. Your teammates can then rotate to you, right? It's important that you kind of deal with that right there. So they recognize it well, they deal with it well, and we're in a pretty good situation. And Xander even kind of recognized this, and maybe it's a bit unfortunate to, you know, not at least get some damage there, but he's gonna die right here on this kind of second peek up. And you see that 2G, they were looking for a kill, right? We're looking to explore here on the back side. We're looking to get aggressive. Now after they get this kill, they maybe actually get a bit too aggressive. You'll see here in just a second with their Cypher kind of continuing this push, because at this point you're in a 4v4. I'm not sure that you need to continue this push, and that's kind of what everyone else in the team is kind of thinking, clearly, because they've ran back, but our Cypher just ends up alone until we end in a 4v3. But now in this 4v3, right, we're in a fine spot again for M80. You have a slight gun advantage. You're in a 4v3, but we're going to talk about the problem for M80 in this game, which that I think particularly early on, they just seemed a little like nervous. It seemed a bit like frantic. They seemed a bit out of control and kind of maybe rushing things a little bit, as you're about to see.
And deals with the assailant. Zero theft already up here for Net, thanks to his brace of kills in that first round and following it up after the fact. We are in the post plant now with all of M80, all of them committed to Boba. They've got to get a way out. Dizzy does his job. Nismo's at least able to get the kill off of that, but now we have a 2 versus 2. And Blaze gets swung on. The Bulldog is actually able to get the job done, and this leaves it up to Nismo. He just got his fault line back online, but suffers one from Zap. And that means this is a tall order indeed. There's a flash available, but the timing's not there. Zap needs to play the post plant to perfection. Flash pushes Nismo off the spike.
Well done.
Couple seconds left, and I think Zap has got this. There's not a thing Nismo can do except take the kill and walk away.
That's 3.
So yeah, this is kind of what kept happening for M80, I think, in this game as we go through it, where there's nothing that's like crazy that I'm going to be like going crazy molding about, but it's just like a bunch of like small mistakes all adding up to where, you know, it ends up going wrong. And as I say, it feels a bit like nervous, a bit rushed. It feels kind of, I mean, just straight away you can see it, right? Because once we end up in a 4v3, we've got a Cypher ult. Right, we're Cypher ulting them, and yet still BCJ is just running out, right? Like, he's just running out, even though we've got a Cypher ult. Like, just chill for a second, right? And then, I mean, Zap ends up kind of aiming like me here, right? Look at missing all those Guardian shots. He should die for this, Zap, right? Like, this should be a kill when you miss this many Guardian shots. Like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, someone should kill him probably and swing out, but you know, everyone else is kind of waiting for this neural theft. But 4v3 with a Cypher ult, you probably shouldn't lose this. And again, right, it's a bit rushed. We aren't thinking about, like, you know, this guy who we know is here because we've Cypher ulted him, right? What if that happens again? That could have been a kill, right? Okay, he gets one. We do end up trading it. That's great. Then you've got Net kind of swinging out here on his own, right? So he's just ended up completely isolated on this. Then you're going to see, you know, BCJ does a similar thing, even though Price did get hit by his Gecko Flash. Maybe there's obviously a lot going on. He might not have realized that, but, you know, ends up on his own, ends up dying there, and then Nismo in the 1v2. So, yeah, this was just kind of an example, I think, of just it just feeling a bit rushed. It just feels a bit panicked. And if we take a look at a couple rounds later as well, in round number 5 here, the next full gun round, this is what the map looks like with a minute left, okay? And so you've got both initiators for 2G here. I think here the plan is probably to try and sell a fake over towards A to push this Yoru with the op back, which they do, and, you know, try and create some pressure over towards A. But you see that M80 have 3 players and their Cypher setup over towards B. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to spoil this for you a bit, this is going to end up being a 3v3 exec with Cypher stuff on the site, right? You would think, like, great, they're doing a 3v3 exec without both of their initiators. Surely we can't lose.
He's got the fault line bailout from Nismo as well, who's probably just holding that for the moment. But as the gate crash comes up, there's the Aldrone to get the scout. Fault line will come through. No counter initially as another flash moves out, and that'll just respond to an easy teleport back. And the focus the whole time has still stayed over towards B, where Xander's in a little bit of trouble here.
2G are committed though. They've got to go towards the B side, and it actually falls here. Xander tries to smoke towards B lobby, but it's not enough to stop this momentum, and 2G will not be slowed.
Yeah, it's just a strange one that this 3v3 exec that this ends up becoming, how it ends up working, right? It just feels a little, maybe a bit panicked again, a little slow to react. Like, you know, we get the Omen smoke up, we get the flash in. It doesn't quite hit this neon, I don't think. I don't think it quite hits the neon, but at the same time, you know, we've got more util to use here, right? Like, BCJ has a full Gecko kit. You know, he could send a Dizzy out as well at this point if he wants to. He ends up delaying that a bit. You know, he ends up doing it after kind of the stun comes out. So instead of, like, you know, insta react, hey, I've just Omen flashed them, okay, I'm going to throw my Dizzy down here, like after you see the neon on the map, like it's a little delayed. We wait for kind of the neon to stun. Net's then swinging out, but everyone else is kind of tucked back in, so Net ends up dying after he gets stunned. Like, it just feels like, again, like in these kind of, you know, more chaotic moments, we're just kind of a little out of sync with each other. Whereas 2G, you see, they seem, you know, even though it's a 3v3 and it's a strange round from them to do a 3v3, you know, to do this exec with just 3 players is a bit strange, right? You don't normally see that, but you can see that they seem to have, you know, a bit more decisive here. That, you know, once we get kind of flashed here, this the kind of second stage of it, the mosh pit comes down, we're almost flashing, we're kind of, you know, we're flooding in, we're getting there, and these two sort it out, and they manage to win those fights and win the round. Okay, now let's skip ahead to round number 10, because at the end of this half, M80 had a couple rounds as well that I don't love. Now, the crucial thing you must note in these rounds is that they don't have any ults online. Okay, this is a full gun round versus gun round, no ults online, and this is gonna be their defensive setup, right? So we're gonna end up here in, you know, kind of some mid aggro just here, and a very passive A setup, as you can see. Okay, so we've just got some Cypher stuff here, right? And that's it. You know, other than that, we're playing, you know, heavy for mid in this round. You know, we've got still some players over towards B, but if they come towards A, we're basically just playing full retake on A. Now, in my personal opinion, my philosophical opinion about Valorant and how you should play the game, I personally don't like playing full retake with no big ults. The reason for that is last season in VCT, there was only one site in the entire game that had an above 50% retake win rate when, you know, it was even numbers retakes. And that was Bind A site. Every other site in the game was less than 50%. Right? So just from a philosophical standpoint, when you decide to play, like, essentially for, you know, what is most likely gonna be a 5v5 retake, which is what this setup, if they come to A, is most likely gonna be, as you're gonna see it is right now, you're probably gonna lose. And considering you don't have any big ults to, you know, add on top of that, it's gonna be even harder for you. And as you see in this one, we don't even get to kind of the retake spot. You know, we don't even really get to have a chance, because our smokes dies here on the cross back across, you know, because they've refilled mid after we've left it, right? So it's just, the plan here it isn't for me, right? Just philosophically, I don't think it makes a ton of sense to do this. Just in general, you're just playing to lose all the time. I know they went for a bit of mid aggro, and that's fine, but to just have nothing on the site, I think is tough. And then if we come to round 12 as well, so M80 again buying as much as they can. Again, they're going to go for this mid aggro, which again isn't a problem necessarily, but again, it's a full retake A setup, right? Like, there is nothing on A, no idea about what's going on there whatsoever, and it's kind of retake B, and again, we don't have ults. Now, again, you could argue, hey, you're one off a Gecko ult, this shouldn't be your plan in round 12, right? You should be playing for one of these ult ups if you're one off a Gecko here. So this plan, again, isn't really for me. And again, you're just statistically, it's just not going to be a great round. And in fact, you know, we end up in a pretty decent spot for them here where, okay, you know, they cleared mid. But again, 2 rounds ago, we saw that you did mid aggro as well. But then later in the round, you got caught off by them coming into mid, right? So it's like you already know that this is a risk to do against this team. They've already punished you for this already once. You know, they've shown to you that they will be willing to do this and kind of come back into mid and punish you if you're just going to leave it after the fact. You know, so again, just like a bit tough, but you see eventually what happens is after they kind of realize, this B side looks pretty stacked. You know, our Omen here, 4-2G starts walking up A, and yeah, he's going to take all that free space. And now again, we're going to end up in a spot where, you know, we're in a tough spot, even though they get this first kill. So now we're in a 5v4 and you think we're in a really good spot. It's still going to be tough because guess what? Taking space when it's a stacked site, right, is tough. Yeah. Would you, on attack side, right, would you run into a site if you knew that 4 players were there? No. No, absolutely, you wouldn't want to do that round, right? That sounds like a terrible idea. Well, in essence, that's what some of these retakes are, that, right? Like, there's 4 people here, you have to take a site, and there's 4 of them there with full rifles. It's not easy.
That is huge. It's a huge boon. Take away that anti-retake util. No breach on the board here for 2G. And once more, we're converging. Spike hasn't gone down quite yet. Paranoia's going to interrupt its plant. Fault line doesn't stop the plant, though, and this is about to get messy. Silence deals with net. Both players hit with Dizzy, though. And now Wingman's trying to open this up. Xander, what a time to come alive. And all. What? It's going to be Spikes for 3. Again, he decimates M80. And now it's up to Nismo. No chance of a rolling thunder here. It's the good old-fashioned honest Valorant to bail M80 out. That's good, but he takes a lot of damage. Spikes is also low and gets 4 on the round.
Okay, how he manages to get all those kills there, Spikes, I have no idea. Doesn't make any sense to me, but he managed to do it, so good for him, right? But now let's finish here with round number 18, which was really the crucial killer. Because M80 actually, as you can see by the score, have started to make a bit of a comeback here, right? On their attack side, it's going a bit better for them here. You know, it's 11-6. They actually lost the pistol again. So, you know, like, they're doing pretty well, getting back into the game. They're actually against an eco here, and as you see, they get the first kill. But they don't just get the first kill, because we're also going to get this kill as well. So we end up in a 5v3. This is a 5v3. We've got full rifles. Let's take a look at 2G's buy, right? A Sheriff, a Stinger, 1 rifle, 5v3. They're also going to get a Cypher ult here, so this should be unlosable.
Get overwhelmed, and this should be a free round right here from inside of M80.
Yeah, I mean, some of these early pushes up for 2G, they're getting a little bit antsy about their lack of information. Trapwire obviously confirmed. Here come M80. Silence able to find 3 with the Sheriff. And Pricey gets involved as well. Absolute filth. 2 for Pricey, 3 for Silence. And M80 in absolute shambles.
Okay, so this round should obviously never happen. It's some great aim by 2G, right, with the Sheriff and whatnot. But this is a tough one to lose, right? I mean, you even see the trip as well, right? So the Yoru clone hits the trip. We don't even deal with that either, by the way. That's going to become a problem for us. But, I mean, let's just take a look, actually, at where the players are when they get revealed. So the Cypher ult's coming on now. Location revealed just there. Let's see where they are on the map. I mean, they're pretty close, right? Like, we're all kind of here. So if we really wanted to, we could go, I mean, even more so, right? The fact that we also have an Omen ult, right? So if we really, really wanted to, you know, we could just Omen ult A, and we know that this is free, right? We know that this is free, and we know we can have this space and, you know, probably win the round. Instead, as you see, we're just going to come into B. We don't deal with that trip. Our aim isn't ideal here, let's say, whereas their aim obviously is quite good. We do get quite a few bullets on this guy, but don't manage to kill him somehow. 3 different people. It's not ideal. We end up losing to a classic, and obviously, in this kind of situation, you let them get to 12-6 against an eco 5v3. It's how you lose a game,